Thanks for checking out New Dice. We will see how the video goes today. I've been having video issues, and we'll see if today's works or not. I really pray it does, because that would be great. Today on the episode, we are going to talk about DM screens. We're going to talk about this right here. I'll show you a little picture of it. We're going to do it a little differently, but here is I hope it focuses in. We're going to talk about a question, or I'm going to ask a question I have to those of you who have GM before, DM before, about a ruling. Okay, a ruling and how you play out your table. I would like some clarity on it, so we'll do that. And then at the end of the episode, we are going to put a bow on last episode, which was about bringing a BBEG to your table. We'll read some comments about that and put a bow, like I said, on that last episode. Okay, so I want to talk about DM screens. I love these things. I don't have a ton of them. I've got 3 of them. I've got the 5.5 DM screen from the starter set. I've got a Land of Eam DM screen. I have got the Stranger Things DM screen from their starter set. I love them. As a collector of D&D items, I think they're very fun. I think they're really cool to have. I think they look cool. A DM screen is special, right? It's unique to Dungeons & Dragons in the TTRPG world. It is a cool thing that separates the DM from the players. If you watch actual plays, you see a DM screen, right? Really cool, fancy ones. If you see Stranger Things, you've got a DM screen. It is part of the magic and part of what you own if you are a Dungeons & Dragons player, DM, whatever it may be, okay? I really enjoy having one at my table. I have used the 5.5 version a ton. And we're going to talk about why that is, what's good about it from a new GM to a new GM, and what is bad about it. But I really think they're cool. I think they're fun. What I have enjoyed from it so far is the fact that it makes the table feel a little more put together. It's one more thing on the table that is synonymous with we're playing a TTRPG. So what's in this thing, right? What's in this 5.5 DM screen? What is on the other side of it? What have they hidden back here? Well, let me read you what they have on it. Okay, here are some of the things. They have the conditions and the effects of conditions. Improvising damage, okay? So someone's hit by falling rubble in a collapsing tunnel. They say recommend 4d10 worth of damage. Damage severity and level. They've got actions, all the actions you can do. What a long jump is, how a high jump works, what concentration does when you're a spellcaster. All the skills listed out here. Death saving throws, how those work. Object armor class. So if you want to crack something that's wood, what's the DC for that? Or what's its armor class, excuse me. Object hit points. You're looking to break a barrel. What's a recommended hit point level to break a barrel? Food, drink, and lodging. Prices for those things are on here. Typical difficulty class. If you want to throw something at your party that's very hard, they recommended DC 25. They've got those on here. Light sources and how they work, how long they last. For instance, a lamp, dim light, and then the duration 6 hours. Dim light, 30 plus feet around you. They've got that on here. Obscured areas, how obscured areas work. Travel pace. Is your party moving fast, normal, or slow? Well, how far can they move per minute, per hour, per day? What kind of advantages or disadvantages happen with that kind of travel? Travel terrain, a list of tons of terrain. The maximum pace your group can travel at, the encounter distance on that, and then what the DC would be if you're going to forage, navigate, or search in that area, right? So if you're in the Underdark and you're trying to search for something, the DC is going to be 20. It's going to be a little tougher, and they've got all that on here. They've got cover, the rules for cover, audible distance, visibility outdoors, and weather. That's all on the back of this DM screen, the new one. It's really good stuff. Now, what have I used from it so far? Well, I have found it very handy for me as a new GM to have the conditions. I struggle with knowing what all the conditions do. This is a very nice way to have that in front of you to easily remember it until I feel very confident with those, which will happen someday. And then I'll be like, well, I don't need a whole page of conditions, but for now they're great for me. I've really found myself as a new GM using the skills, something very basic. So knowing all of the skills available that the players have on their player sheet, having the list of them there has been really nice. so I don't have to try to remember what the skills are in moments where there's going to be a skills check. I've used that probably the most of anything actually on this DM screen. I know I've used the food, drink, and lodging. We ran into a tavern situation. They wanted to buy some stuff. That came in really handy just to be able to give some price points to items. That was very nice. I know I'll use the cover at some point on this because I never remember the rules for that. I love the object armor class stuff. So if something is, cloth or crystal, glass, ice, what the armor class would be for that. There's a lot of good stuff on here. I'm sure there's stuff on here I will never use. So I find it really handy. And for a new GM who can't remember everything, there's enough on the back of that it is very useful. But here's where I'm struggling, and here's where I'm kind of needing to audible. As much as I have enjoyed having the DM screen up and having some separation for things like hiding my notes behind it, I really like doing that. I like hiding minis behind the DM screen so that I know, there's minis coming up in the battles they're going to have. I don't want them to see what it's going to be. I've really enjoyed it for that. But I have realized at my table, one of the things I have enjoyed the most is having the DM screen down so that it feels like I'm at the table with my players. We are all in this together. We're all creating the story together. There is a lack of separation in that part of the game with the DM screen down. The other thing I've liked doing, I've really enjoyed rolling in front of the table. I've enjoyed it a ton. I find it, for my table at least, to be extremely interesting, captivating. It's very honest. The players, I feel this level of honesty when it's going down. If they're going to start to get beat down by a bad guy, they see it happening in real time. There's no one to blame but themselves for getting in the fight. And I'm not fudging stuff. So I've really enjoyed that. What I need is a mix. This is a big DM screen that has 4 panels, and it takes up a lot of space on the table. Let me see what I can stretch out here. Right, it's a lot of space that it takes up on the table. I need something little that I can hide some stuff behind. That isn't a DM screen, but just something little to hide things. Maybe even a little. I could 3D print a little box that I put stuff in that I'm going to bring out, and then I just need maybe some laminated paper. Maybe 2 laminated sheets that don't have anything the players don't know about. They know what the skills are. They know what conditions are, but that I can just have laying down in front of me. And I can have 2 laminated sheets of paper, maybe front and back, and it's got what's on the DM screen there, but just very easily accessible to me and not up in my face so that when I'm rolling, I'm leaning over the DM table, rolling, having to awkwardly grab for stuff. That's kind of where I'm at. As much as I love owning the DM screen, the art on the back of it, the perception that the table is ready for a TTRPG, I do like that. I think I'm going DM screen less and going to create my own note, the stuff that's on the DM screen in a different accessible way with a way to hide some of my stuff as well. And then maybe there is a tiny little section of the board where if I need to roll behind something because it is secret, I can do that. There you go. There's my thoughts on DM screens. What are yours? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? I just wanted to throw that out there if you're a new GM. The fact that you have some options. Also, the fact that if you're going to try to get into it for free, you're not looking at buying a DM screen. Maybe you've been going back and forth on buying one. You can very easily get away without having one at your table. You are not going to be missing out on tons, but I would recommend taking some of the things that are on the back of the DM screen and making them easily accessible to you. Okay, what is going on at my table? What did we run into with a specific spell, and I need a ruling, okay? The spell is Moonbeam. I'm going to read it to you. Moonbeam is a 2nd level evocation spell, and it says, a silvery beam of pale light shines down in a 5-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder centered on a point within range. Until the spell ends, dim light fills the cylinder, and you can take a magic action on later turns to move the cylinder up to 60 feet. When the cylinder appears, each creature in it makes a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 2d10 radiant damage. Then if the creature is shape-shifted, it reverts to its true form and can't shape-shift until it leaves the cylinder. Okay, there's a little more stuff there, but it's about the damage. That's not the part we were worried about or wondering about. So, here is my question. You have got this attack that drops down a 5-foot radius, that's a 10-foot diameter cylinder on the board. Okay? So this is where we had an issue. The druid at our table wanted to get a couple bad guys in, or maybe just one bad guy in the cylinder, not get any of the PCs in it. And so they dropped it at a specific point. Now, the way I read that spell at first was that you drop the cylinder down, and I'll draw it out for you here. I'll show you the drawing. That it hit any square that the cylinder is in with this orientation is affected by Moonbeam, and everyone in that zone, in any of these 9 squares, they are going to take the damage and the effects from Moonbeam. Well, that was challenged to this layout where you drop the Moonbeam in the middle of this square, and then in sort of a plus sign, the squares in a plus sign are the squares that take damage, and that the diagonals, there's not enough coverage. There's not over half of the square covered by this 5-foot radius cylinder. If you're in one of those, you do not take damage. So that was the second way of looking at it. The third way, and the way that my druid wanted to cast it, and in the end, it was the way that we ended up settling on because it was my druid's spell, and I if they read it that way, I wanted to reward them for that because that's how they were planning it. They dropped it on, is it the vertice? Is that what it's called? They dropped it at the crossroads of the squares. So instead, it looked like this, and it hits the 4 squares that touch that corner. So it goes to the corners, and the 4 squares around it, that was affected by it. And then if you're going to move this cylinder, you move it 5 feet. You can move it up to 60 feet, but you would have to move it along the lines. You could not move it vertically because now that is going to be longer than 60 feet. So that part was a little bit different. The movement on the other 2 orientations was normal. The movement on the vertices, you had to follow straight lines with your Moonbeam. Which one of these do you read that spell as? How would that work at your table? Let us know. We want to know what other people think of Moonbeam and how and what squares are affected by that spell. There you go. There's our fun little GM question for you this week. I hope you are able to participate. Let's put a bow on last week's episode entitled Bring a BBEG ASAP. Jacob Church Ward True Red 116 said this: I had a shadow villain for my first campaign. They knew someone was pulling all these strings, but they didn't know who. They had all these suspects, and finally, in the last session, it was revealed to be this guy who they didn't trust, but also didn't think was the BBEG. But then they started putting together the pieces, and it all made sense to them. They could have put it together before, but they just didn't. My sister-in-law was also bragging how she was really good at guessing plot points, but in truth, she was just better at coming up with plot points compared to me. That is magic in GMing, Jacob. Let your sister-in-law, who's better at telling the story, let her tell some of the story. Let her carry some of the burden for you. I think that's great. A little shadow villain. You don't know who it is. It's going to be somebody. Let's let the players kind of steer you to who they want it to be, whether they realize it or not. Gaming Treasure Chest, great channel, says this: very well done. Great way to bring in a bad guy after you have given the players reasons to love the dragon. It was very fun. They're still mad at the guy. Sounds like fun was had. Keep it going in terms of videos. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If they're leaving, etc., keep on doing it if you are enjoying it. I am. I mean, nobody watched the last episode, but we're here this week and loving recording them. I hope you enjoy watching them. Thanks for checking out the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell someone you know about it. Share the video on a Discord community if you think it would help new GMs out at all. I really appreciate everybody who comments. It means a lot. We'll read some of those comments on next week's episode. Thanks for checking out the channel, and goodbye.